It's 8:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by J. Yogaraj, read by Sanditavam. The President calls for collaborative efforts to transform the North into a leading economic hub. Sri Lanka qualifying for the next steps of the IMF agreement is a victory for the country. Sri Lanka to secure likely 6-year moratorium on debt owed to India, Paris Club. The Met Department forecasts rainfall of above 75 millimeters for the next 36 hours. 10 more underworld figures arrested within 24 hours. News overseas. Hong Kong's national security legislation to come into effect tomorrow. In sports cricket, Dhananjay and Kamindu centuries put Sri Lanka on top on 13-wicket opening day. President Ranil Wickremesinghe has instructed officials to ensure the completion of the National Urumaya Freehold Deeds Programme by June. The President emphasized that it is the dream of every citizen to attain legal ownership of land, regardless of their background. He firmly believes that everyone should have this fundamental right. President Ranil Wickremesinghe made these comments while attending the Urumaya Freehold Deeds Programme held in the Ottagapulam in Jaffna this morning. Accordingly, 408 land deeds were granted to the people of Jaffna as part of the Urumaya programme, which aims to provide free land rights to 2 million individuals. The President symbolically participated in the awarding of the deeds. Under the leadership of President Ranil Wickremesinghe, the release of lands previously utilised by the Jaffna Security Force headquarters was conducted at the Palali Air Force Base today. The Jaffna commander, Major General Chandana Wickremesinghe, presented the official land release documents to President Ranil Wickremesinghe. Subsequently, President Wickremesinghe handed over the documents to the Jaffna District Governor, Marathalingam Pradeepan. As per the arrangement, 234 acres of land from 5 Gram Nidalali divisions in the Valikamam North were granted to the local public. These lands are intended for agricultural purposes in alignment with the government's agricultural modernization program. As part of this initiative, deeds were distributed under the leadership of President Ranil Wickremesinghe. Following this distribution, the President engaged in cordial discussions with the land recipients and ceremoniously planted a sapling on the liberated land. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena stated that the International Monetary Fund (IMF) has agreed to provide further financial assistance to Sri Lanka, and that Sri Lanka qualifying for the next steps of the IMF agreement is a victory for the whole country. He made these comments today while attending the foundation stone-laying ceremony for the new surgical ward complex at the Avisavella Base Hospital. When the construction is completed, this 6-storied new surgical ward complex will have 600 beds and 8 modern operating theatres. The Avisavella Hospital, which directly provides health services to Colombo, Ratnapura and the Kagala districts, also provides high-quality health services to the people of Gampaha and Kalathura districts that are on 2 sides of the river. The Premier further said that the construction of this new hospital complex is a great step towards the treatment of patients and the prevention of diseases and is a contribution to the entire society. Sri Lanka is close to finalizing a debt treatment plan with India and the Paris Club, sources familiar with the negotiations said, pointing to a likely moratorium of up to 6 years and a reduced interest rate during the repayment period. The discussions are at an advanced stage. A formal agreement on the terms can be expected very soon, the Colombo-based source said. The Hindu on Thursday, after a recent discussion among members of the official creditor committee. As many as 17 countries that have extended loans to Sri Lanka formed the committee last year for ease of debt restructuring negotiations. China opted to stay out of the platform, but has been attending its meetings as an observer. Meanwhile, Colombo has repeatedly assured the OCC that it would negotiate repayment of Chinese loans on comparable terms. Finalizing agreements with the official creditors and reaching in-principle agreements with the key private creditors would be critical next steps in Sri Lanka's economic recovery plan, the International Monetary Fund (IMF) said on Thursday. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The Department of Meteorology says that showers or thundershowers are possible at times in the eastern and Uva provinces, also in Hambantota district over the next 36 hours. Several spells of showers may occur in the north, central and northern provinces. Showers or thundershowers will occur at several places elsewhere in the island in the evening or in the night. Meanwhile, fairly heavy showers of above 75 millimeters are likely at some places in the western, Sabragamuwa, central and northwestern provinces. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the central, Sabragamuwa and Uva provinces, also in the Galle and Matara districts in the morning. The members of the public are advised to take adequate precautions to minimize damage caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during the thunder showers. The police have arrested 10 more members of organized criminal gangs within a 24-hour window under the operation launched earlier this week to curb the underworld. The arrested suspects include 2 members of the gang led by notorious criminal Kudu Anju, 2 associates of the Matagoda Chaminda, 1 member of the Kanjipani Imran syndicate, and a member of the criminal gang of Kosgoda Suji. Accordingly, a total of 27 suspects have been arrested in 3 days since the start of the anti-underworld operation, the police said. State Minister Lasant Alagevana said the foreigners can apply for driving licenses at the BIA airport itself. Effective measures have been taken to provide these licenses when they come out of the airport. This process will come into effect on the 15th of April. Meanwhile, a work plan is underway to pay compensation to the victims of motor vehicle accidents without the intervention of the judiciary. That concludes local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
Minister Dr. Bandulu Gunawardena said that the interest rates of the loans should be reduced to a single digit to promote the construction industry of any country. The minister made these comments at an inaugural ceremony of a construction industry exhibition held at the Sirimavo Bandaranaike Exhibition Hall. The minister also said that for the economic revival is moving forward with the support of the IMF EFF program, and came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
Watch Live is brought to you by
CIB Navy offer valuable gifts and gift vouchers, 25% discount for bank cards till 10th of April. Visit CIB today. CIB revives once always.
Steps have been taken to launch a new mobile application, Beach Cleanup Coordination App. Aimed at enhancing the cleanliness and waste management on beaches, Senior Advisor to the President on National Security and Chief of the Presidential Staff Sagala Ratnayaka said. This is revealed during a discussion at the Presidential Secretariat. The introduction of this mobile application is facilitated through the intervention of the Coastal Conservation Protection Authority and the President's Media Division said. That came to you in Watchlight, a bulletin of world news up next.
CIB Navy offer valuable gifts and gift vouchers, 25% discount for bank cards till 10th of April. Visit CIB today. CIB revives once always.
Coming up, world news.
Making headlines tonight, Japan's Emperor and Empress visit Quake Peninsula. Hong Kong's national security legislation to come into effect tomorrow. And Indian opposition leader arrested over corruption claims before general election. Japan's Emperor Naruhito and Empress Masako have visited one of the communities hit hardest by the powerful New Year's Day earthquake. Wajima City is on the Noto Peninsula in Ishikawa Prefecture on the Sea of the Japan coast. The couple arrived at the Noto Satayama Airport before 11 a.m. on Friday aboard a flight from Tokyo's Haneda Airport. They then flew to Wajima City on a Japan Self-Defense Forces helicopter in the afternoon. Hong Kong's new national security legislation will take effect tomorrow. The legislation complements the Hong Kong national security law that was enforced in 2020. The new legislation will prohibit acts that endanger national security, including theft of state secrets, espionage, incitement to mutiny and external interference. Violations could bring sentences of up to life imprisonment. Hong Kong's Legislative Council, almost all of whose members are pro-Beijing, unanimously passed the National Security Bill with unusual haste on Tuesday. An Indian opposition leader has reportedly been arrested on suspicion of involvement in corruption ahead of the country's general election. Indian media outlets reported the arrest of Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal on Thursday. Kejriwal leads the opposition Aam Adami Party or Common People's Party. Several senior members of the AAP have been arrested on charges of receiving bribes from businesses in return for efforts to privatize liquor sales, which had been controlled by the government. That concludes this bulletin of world news.
Development news.
Austrian-based company 365 Future Energy, Brisbane, is looking at reinvesting around $80 million to put up Sri Lanka's first solar energy park with a backup storage facility in Mattala, Hambantota. The CEO and director, Isuru Yapa, speaking, said from Australia that they are just completing a mega $400 million solar project with a backup storage facility in Brisbane to generate 300 megawatts of power. That came to you in development news. We take a look at sports news next.
Moving on with sports news.
Sri Lanka bounced back from 57 for 5 to end the first day of 248 ahead. Just one wicket fell to a spinner all day in Sylhet. A day that started with Sri Lanka's top 5 being skittled for just 57, ended with Bangladesh 3 down and trailing by 248 runs. In between, there were centuries for Dalanjay De Silva and Kamindu Mendis amid a 202-run 6-wicket stand, as Sri Lanka fought back from a horror start to end day 1 of the first test in Sylhet in control of the proceedings. Scores: Sri Lanka batting first and made 280 in the first innings. In reply, Bangladesh with 35 for 3 at close of play. That came to you in sports news.
Go ekak tiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හින හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account. NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business news. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Cargill's, in collaboration with the United States via the United States Agency for International Development USAID, launches groundbreaking project Charge While You Shop, aimed at making renewable energy more accessible to all Sri Lankans who own electric vehicles. Yesterday at Cargill's Food City in Baudalo, Kamawata, Cargill's and USAID, through the Sri Lanka Energy Programme, have co-founded and implemented this pioneering initiative to integrate EV charging stations, complemented by solar power, into multiple Cargill's retail locations in Colombo. And that's business news.
Business news. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak tiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හින හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account. NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
On to economic news, Fitzair, Sri Lanka's low-cost airline, announced the launch of direct flights connecting Colombo and Dhaka, Bangladesh, from April 16, 2024. This move represents a significant milestone in regional aviation, addressing the growing demand for affordable travel options between Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. In light of Bangladesh's rapidly expanding economy, attracting considerable interest from Sri Lankan businesses, Dhaka is emerging as a popular destination. Recognizing this trend, Fitzair is committed to providing affordable, on-time and efficient air connectivity to cater to the needs of this growing market, and came to you in economic news.
Weather report.
The Met Department says that showers or thundershowers will occur at times in the eastern and Uva provinces, also in the Hambantota district. Several spells of showers may occur in the north-central and northern provinces. Showers or thundershowers will occur at several places elsewhere in the island during the evening or night. Fairly heavy showers above 75 millimeters are likely at some places in the western, Sabragamo, central and northwestern provinces. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the central, Sabragamo and Uva provinces, also in the Gaul and Matara districts during the morning. The general public is kindly requested to take adequate precautions to minimize damage caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during thunder showers. This weather report was published this evening at 7:30 p.m. Further details could be obtained by visiting the official website of the department. To conclude this bulletin of news, a recap of the headlines. The President calls for collaborative efforts to transform the North into a leading economic hub. Sri Lanka qualifying for next steps of the IMF agreement is a victory for the country. Sri Lanka to secure likely 6-year moratorium on debt owed to India and the Paris Club. The Met Department forecasts rainfall of above 75 millimeters for the next 36 hours. 10 more underworld figures arrested within 24 hours. Hong Kong's national security legislation to come into effect tomorrow. Dhananjaya and Kamindu centuries put Sri Lanka on top on a 13-wicket opening day. That concludes tonight's news broadcast.